Imagine standing at the pinnacle of the world. The roar of the crowd is deafening, a symphony of adoration just for you. The lights are blinding, the flashbulbs relentless. Gold and leather belts are draped over your shoulders, heavy with the weight of victory. You have it all: the money, the fame, the power. Every fight is a spectacle, every win a confirmation of your greatness. You are a king, an icon, a legend in the making. The world is at your feet chanting your name. That was his life. He wasn't just a boxer, he was a phenomenon. He moved with a grace that defied his power, a destructive artist painting masterpieces of knockouts on the canvas of the ring. He was invincible, or so he thought. But pride. Pride is an opponent that doesn't show up on the fight card. It's a shadow that grows with your own, whispering sweet lies into your ear. It tells you you're untouchable, that the rules don't apply to you, that you can do no wrong. And he listened. He let pride become his head coach, his closest advisor. It clouded his judgment, inflated his ego, and led him down a path paved with bad decisions. It only took one mistake, one terrible choice made in a moment of arrogant carelessness. It was like a crack in a dam, small at first, but the pressure of his world was too immense. The crack splintered, and the floodgates of consequence burst wide open. The fallout was immediate and brutal. The sponsors, the brands that had once fought to have their logos on his shorts, were the first to go. Their statements were cold, corporate, and final. The phones, which once rang incessantly with offers and invitations, fell silent. The friends, the entourage, that had been a permanent fixture in his life, evaporated like mist in the morning sun. They were friends of the champion, not the man. His world began to shrink at an alarming rate. The sprawling mansion with its infinity pool and panoramic views was foreclosed. The collection of luxury cars was repossessed. The championship belts, those symbols of his dominance, were sold off one by one to pay mounting debts and legal fees. But the most devastating loss wasn't tangible. It was the loss of his family. The late nights, the arrogance, the scandal, it was too much. The trust was shattered, the love strained to its breaking point. One day he came home to an empty house, the silence screaming louder than any crowd ever had. He was truly alone, stripped of everything that had defined him. He had lost his career, his fortune, his friends, and the people who mattered most. The king was dethroned, cast out of his own kingdom, left with nothing but the echoes of a life that was no longer his. He had fallen from the highest peak into the deepest, darkest valley. Years passed. The world moved on, as it always does. New champions were crowned, new stories were told. His name became a cautionary tale, a footnote in boxing history. He disappeared from the public eye, swallowed by the obscurity he once thought impossible. But he wasn't gone. He was just hidden. You could find him, if you knew where to look, in a rundown, forgotten gym on the wrong side of town, a place that smelled of old leather, sweat, and desperation. There were no cameras here, no reporters, no adoring fans, just peeling paint, a few heavy bags swaying like ghosts in the dim light, and the relentless, rhythmic thud of leather on leather. That was his new world. The sound of his own gloves hitting the bag, a stark, lonely metronome marking the passage of time. His heartbeat, a frantic drum in the echoing silence of the empty space. He trained in the dark before the sun came up and after it went down, as if ashamed to let the light see what he had become. Every punch he threw wasn't just for practice. It was an act of penance. Every jab carried the weight of his guilt. Every cross was loaded with regret. Every hook was a physical manifestation of his anger at himself. He wasn't training his body as much as he was punishing his soul. With every drop of sweat that hit the dusty floor, he was trying to wash away the stains of his past. But in that oppressive silence, something unexpected began to happen. Stripped of all the noise, the fame, the sycophants, and the distractions, he started to hear a voice he hadn't heard in years. His own. Not the champion's arrogant roar, but the quiet, determined whisper of the young man who first fell in love with the sport. The boy who just wanted to fight, who found solace and purpose within the four corners of a ring. He was rediscovering the essence of who he was, beneath all the layers of fame and failure. He found the fighter. Not the celebrity, not the brand, but the raw, hungry, disciplined fighter he had once been. He found himself again. The decision to come back wasn't born from a desire to reclaim the spotlight. The thought of fame was repulsive now. The money didn't matter. He wasn't chasing ghosts or trying to rewrite history. This was about something deeper. It was about redemption. It was about proving to the one person who mattered most, himself, that he could rise from the ashes. He took a fight, a small-time bout in a local hall, a world away from the stadiums he once sold out. The promoter barely had the budget for posters, let alone a TV deal. No bright lights, no pyrotechnics, no cheering crowds. Just a ring, a referee, and an opponent. But for him, this single fight meant more than all the championship bouts combined. The night of the fight arrived. As he walked to the ring, there was no entourage, just his old coach, a man who had seen his rise, his fall, and now, his return. The sparse crowd was a murmur, not a roar. He stepped through the ropes, a different man. The flashy arrogance was gone, replaced by a cold, quiet focus. His eyes weren't scanning the crowd. They were locked on his opponent. He looked older, the lines on his face telling a story of hardship. But his body was a weapon, honed and sharpened in the darkness of that empty gym. He was hungrier than he had ever been. He was stronger. He was quieter. The bell rang. The sound echoed in the small hall. The fight began. It wasn't the flashy showboating style of his youth. This was something else. It was efficient, brutal, and intelligent. Every move had a purpose. Every punch was a sentence in his story of redemption. He took a hard shot in the second round, a reminder of the pain he deserved, but he just nodded, his focus unwavering. He weathered the storm, absorbing the punishment, his resolve hardening with every blow he took. He was fighting not just the man in front of him, but the demons within him. Then, in the final round, he saw his opening. It was a flicker, a momentary lapse from his opponent. But for him, it was everything. He threw a combination born from thousands of hours of solitary training, a jab, a cross, and then the final definitive punch. It landed with a sound that silenced the entire hall. His opponent fell. It was over. He stood there for a moment, sweat and exhaustion pouring from him, chest heaving. He didn't raise his arms in triumph. He didn't roar at the crowd. He simply looked down at his gloves, then closed his eyes. In that moment of pure, raw victory, a whisper escaped his lips, a truth he had earned through fire and pain. "I lost everything," he said to himself, "to find my purpose." Thank you so much for watching this story unfold. If it moved you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel for more content that explores the depths of the human spirit. We'll see you in the next one.